Entering the 2025 season, there was one common sentiment held by pretty much every baseball fan who knew anything about the sport when it came to Mike Trout. If the guy got over 400 at-bats, we were going to see another 30 homers, near 900 OPS, and 4+ WAR season. It seemed like a foregone conclusion, as even though he had struggled mightily with injuries over the prior 4 years, his production had always stayed around the aforementioned pace. But unfortunately, that's not how things have gone this year, as even though he's been able to appear in 125 games, and in doing so, register his 400th homer, he's posted by far the worst numbers of his entire career, with a paltry slash line for him of 229, 357, 415, coming out to an OPS plus of 114. For a little reference, his next lowest when he's managed to play at least 100 games in a season is 171. And this is true across the board. 22 homers, 14 doubles, just over 100 hits, and mind-numbingly high 173 strikeouts, the second highest total in his career behind 2014, a season in which he played over 30 more games. All this has resulted in a WAR total of just 1.0, less than he managed to post last year when he played in just 29 contests. So, what the hell has gone so wrong with Trout's season, and is there a potential way for him to turn it around in 2026? Well, the first thing we have to get out of the way is that the guy is still making some really good contact, being above the 80th percentile in StatCast's expected WOBA, barrel percent, hard hit percent, launch angle sweet spot percentage, and just off for bat speed in the 77th. Even his average exit velocity, which hasn't been insane, has remained around a level where he's been highly successful in the past, like in 2019 when he won his most recent MVP. No, his problem hasn't been quality of contact. It's been principally 3 other things. Let me start with the first one, being the fact that he struck out 32.1% of the time, the second highest rate in the entire major leagues behind just James Wood. This helps explain why, even though he's still registering a healthy BABIP of 313, with those aforementioned good predictive numbers, he's not being able to translate this into on-field results. After all, you have to be able to hit the ball to have a chance to do anything productive. The second of those 3 I mentioned has to do with the kind of contact he's been making, as this season has featured his highest ground ball rate in a year with over 100 games played since 2017. Now, it's still not extremely high at 35%, but it is noticeable now that his once elite speed has been pushed all the way down to the 62nd percentile due to injuries. You don't want a guy who's actively trying not to hurt himself to be racing down the line attempting to beat out infield hits, but that trade-off is costing him valuable knocks. Our last major factor, and easily the most unfair, is just the fact he's dealt with some sheer bad luck, as a lot of guys have faced this year, especially power hitters, due, at least in part, to the dead ball phenomenon. It's affected Trout to the tune of a 52-point difference between his expected slugging of 467 and his real-world mark of 415, with lesser but still notable discrepancies being observed in his expected WOBA of 360 to actual 335 and expected batting average of 241 to 229. The fact that he's hitting more grounders is a factor here, but it isn't even remotely close to explaining gaps that large, especially when it comes to the first 2. So yes, he definitely still has enough in the tank to have another productive season in 2026, but it's going to start with cutting down on the Ks, limiting as many ground balls as possible, and praying to the baseball gods for his luck to start turning. Regardless, however, none of this will change the fact that he's still one of the best baseball players of all time, with anything more that he can provide from this point forward just being icing on top of his eventual first ballot Hall of Fame cake. Alright everybody, if you made it this far, I appreciate you watching, and if you did, consider checking out any of these other videos on your screen right now for other content just like this. Also, if you ever see anything you'd like to see me detail in the video, feel free to reach out to my email, basebpoet@gmail.com, and if I end up using your idea, I'll give you a shout out. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day.